Showtime is one of our top players from PS59. He's only in what? Show, you're in third grade, right?
I'm going in the fourth.
Yeah, you're rating like 1500, right?
Wow.
My USA rating is right now 1456, but I do have like overshoot.
Yeah, he's doing great.
Like underrating overshoot.
Chris Lampton, yeah, cool. Haley and Ryder, yep. So guys, I'll get started. I'll just introduce Grandmaster Mark quickly. So Grandmaster Mark's been a friend of ours for a long time. In going back to the days in Greenwich Village, where we used to play in the Blitz tournaments down there with Russian Paul. And if you guys look on the internet, you see a game him versus Grandmaster Alex Lenderman in our old chess club, right, Coach? Remember?
Yes, I remember.
The fun times. And then Grandmaster Mark and us, we have coached together for many years in different camps and programs.
Yes.
He was one of the top players, 100 players in the world in his career. He was a former world champion, I think, for youth players.
Yes.
When he was a younger player, and just an excellent coach and player. So we're glad to have him today. Make sure you ask a lot of questions. Mark, try to make sure everybody's engaged and participating. And we're just going to review the games that we sent over. So whenever you're ready, we can get started and just try to make it interactive and as fun as possible. And we'll go from 7 to 8 o'clock. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Russ. Yeah,
sure.
Because let's start. Okay. So I think it's already here. So I'll just share some screen. Okay, wait a second. Okay. So let's try. Okay, this first. So I think everyone could see the board. So this game was played by Shishi against Arhan. Okay, so let's see. Wait a second. Okay, now it's so Shishi was white and then Arhan's black. Javeri. So now D4, D5, Knight F3, C5.
Oh wait,
E3.
Mark. Wait, we can't see the screen.
Really?
Yeah, you gotta make sure it's sharing the screen that has the game.
Wait a second. I think I already shared. I already shared the screen. Wait a second. I'm going to. Okay, wait a second. I'm going to. This one.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so let's start. So D4, D5, Knight F3, C5, E3, Knight C6, and B3. So just a little bit introduction with this. So after White played B3, White is trying to do some Kolya system like with a Bishop B2, Bishop D3, and then followed by Knight 2, which is one of the most solid line in the Queen's Pawn. So B6. After here, Black played B6. So instead of playing B6 here, Black could just like maybe do a normal development like Knight F6 and then followed by E6. That is also possible. But sometimes, of course, if you play Knight F6 immediately, maybe White could take D takes C5, but I think it doesn't have any problem for Black because if you play D takes C5, there is always Queen A5, and then now Black could just always get the pawn back here on C5. So okay, so Black played B6, Bishop B2, Bishop B7, Bishop D3, which is normal, and then also one of the idea here for White after like Bishop D3, castled, and then Knight D2. There is idea that White could always play Knight E5 so that White could play F4. So I'm going to show it that Knight F6, castle, E6, Knight BD2, Bishop D6. So here in this position, I think instead of playing like Bishop D6, I think Bishop E7 is, in my opinion, like Bishop E7 is more solid because the difference is if you played Bishop D6 here in this position, after Knight E5, you cannot take Knight takes E5 because there's a fork. So after Knight E5, you need to take with a bishop. So after this, Knight D7, white could play f4, or like maybe white could do something like queen g4 in this position. And then I think in this position, white is a little bit better because first is this pair of bishops, and then now you don't have any dark square bishop. Because remember, in this kind of in this kind of position, for black needs the dark square bishop to defend, like especially this g5 square. Why? Because this g5 square later on, this knight on d2 could always play knight f3 and then knight g5. So that is the difference. So I think that's why in this position, I think this bishop e7 will be just fine. So anyway, you played bishop d6, knight e5, good move, a good move for white. Because as I said earlier, like after knight e5, now black needs to, if black wants to take this e5 knight, he needs to take with a bishop. So black castle, f4, good. So knight e4, okay, let's see this one. Okay, so this is the first question I want to ask, guys. So what do you think about this knight e4? Do you think this is sound? Like, because after knight e4, you are just simply like trying to give a pawn, but maybe there is something, because after knight takes e4, you will take here on e5. But what do you think about this move, knight to e4? Anyone wants to answer this one? So what do you think about this knight e4? Do you think knight e4 is fine for black, or do you think knight e4 is a bad move for black? Anyone?
You guys can either raise your hand or just
Yes.
chat.
Yeah, you could just like you could just click the raise hand button, or you could just simply raise your hand, and then so that you could share. Yes, Julian. Yeah.
I was thinking maybe you take on c6, and after bishop takes c6, you take with the bishop on e5, e4, and after d takes e4, and you play knight c4.
Oh, okay. So you mean knight takes c6 here, bishop takes c6, take this one, takes, and then knight c4. All right. Okay. So that kind of idea is fine because you will get knight on c4, and then maybe after that you could maybe take this. Take this pawn on c5. Take this pawn on c5 so that you could activate this bishop. But the problem is, you just trade your good pieces. Like here, as you can see that you had a good knight here on e5, and then especially this bishop. So remember in this Collier system that as much as possible, you want to keep these pieces, especially this bishop on d3. So anyone? Other idea here instead of like what Julian said, like he wants to play knight takes c6 and then followed by bishop takes e4. Anyone? Yes. Are you trying to raise your hand?
Yes. I'm
Yeah,
thinking
okay, what?
here. Can you just take on e4?
Like what? With what piece?
Knight.
Knight. Okay. So I think like after knight e4, like the logical move here for white will be knight takes e4. Because of course, if you play d takes e4, now you will win a pawn. But after knight takes e4, I think there's a tricky move here for white, for black. Sorry, like maybe this one, knight takes e5. I'm not so sure about this knight takes e5, but let's let's try to think about this move, knight takes e5. As you can see, like knight takes d6. If you play knight takes d6, I have like knight takes d3. So okay, so I think this this kind of position is kind of like tricky because knight takes d6, knight takes d3. If you play d takes e5, you will just black will just also play d takes e4. So who? Okay, Julian. Oh, sorry. Okay. Wait a
Here
second.
Here you play knight f6.
Knight f. Wow. Wow. Okay. Knight f6. Wow. Knight f6. Yes, you're right. Because here in this position there is knight to f6. because of course he cannot takes with queen takes f6. Now after queen takes f6, you will be up a piece because you will just simply take this knight and then get the bishop. So after knight f6, black is forced to black to play g takes f6, and then after, yes, Josh.
You can continue this line. I actually had a different move than knight f6.
What?
So instead of knight f6, I was wondering if white can actually gain a pawn. After knight takes d6, knight takes d3, knight
Okay.
takes b7, knight takes
Knight
b2,
takes b2.
knight takes d8, knight takes d1, and then after knight takes f7.
And then now I have knight takes e3. Right.
Oh, can you go knight takes e6 then? Is that better?
The knight takes e6, and then now white will still play knight takes e3. I know it's just, yeah. So of course, if you want to calculate this one, you really need to be careful, because if you miss one line in this kind of theme of calculation, it will like end up in an equal position, like because you will just trade pieces. Yeah, knight takes e6, knight e3. You could take maybe, yeah, like you could take knight takes f8 and then knight takes f1. But I think I like what Julian, like, okay, we'll just go back. I like what Julian played here, like this one, knight takes e5, you have knight f6. Because here after knight f6, of course, black is forced to play g takes f6 here. And then after g takes f6, you will just simply play, yeah, like he takes e5, because if it takes, yeah, like because f takes e5 is a blunder, not real blunder, but of course after f takes e5, what are you going to do here? This is a winning position for white already. Yes. What? Queen g4, king h8.
Bishop takes e5. Check.
Okay, but they will just simply take. Okay, you could play d takes e5. Okay, maybe he will. Maybe like black's white still better here because after rook g. What?
What if instead of taking on e5, like instead of taking, like after bishop takes e5, when black plays bishop takes e5,
This one?
can you go queen h5 when black plays bishop? Can you go queen h5 to threaten mate?
f5. There's an f5. Okay, now maybe you could think another way how you could this kind of possession. I think you already see this kind of possession for white if you are like doing a lot of problems, like especially if there's a bishop here on d3. So instead of playing queen g4, what do you think is the other option here? Okay, I want to ask another one. Let's see, GM Arco. Okay, let's ask this one.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. What? Instead, because they said queen g4 and then f takes e5, and then they said queen g4, bishop takes e5. So now what do you think is the other one?
I think I just said it.
Like what? Oh, you said it? Okay. So could you see anything beside queen g4 followed by bishop takes e5 or like queen h5 immediately? So could you see any other way how you could attack this black's king side? Because as you could see, this black's king side is ruined. So you need just like a final...
Rook f3 looks
F3,
pretty
I think rook f3, it's kind of okay. Rook f3, yes, you could, of course, you could play rook f3, but with the threat of rook g3.
Rook f3 on Google Play Music, but it either
Rook f3, or like you could play after rook f3, you could play rook g3 or like followed by rook h3. But yeah, like this one is fine. Like rook f3 is possible, but there is a direct way here, direct move here for white. Okay, let's Vrishank? Vrishank? Yes.
Queen h5.
Queen h5, if you played Queen h5, as I said earlier, like if you played Queen h5 immediately here, there is something like this. Queen f5, there's f5.
Now rook to f3.
Rook f3, okay. Maybe I could just simply play King h8 here. If you played like Rook h3, I will like play Queen e7. All right. So, okay, because I think we're running sometime. So here in this position, I'm going to tell you like, in this position, there is a move here that, yeah, like of course you could, like you could do like this one immediately. Bishop takes h7, check. Right? King takes h7, Queen h5. If you played King g7, this is the popular, yeah, like we see this kind of position, but usually like the popular game that white is sacrificing the two bishops, but this one just only one bishop. King g7, yes, Josh?
Yeah, this is the line I was looking at. I thought you could just play rook f3 here.
Rook f3, and then now maybe black could play f5.
Will black actually get away with this?
I'm not so sure. Rook g3. Rook g3, King f6.
And then Queen h7.
Queen h7. Then, oh yeah. This one is also good, but I think he has Rook g8 here.
Rook
Not so sure.
g8.
Like, maybe white's still winning here. Like, of course, Rook g8.
Maybe just Queen h6 and then King f7.
Yes. But of course, there is a better way here. What are you going to do here? Julian.
Well, actually, if you go into the, well, you could take on you could take on e5, but if you go back into the same line that Josh was just in, instead of Queen h7, you have Queen h6.
Or here, okay, so this is one of the options, like you could maybe take this first, f takes e5, because you're trying to do a discovery so that later on he doesn't have f5. Or you could just simply, like the most simplest way here is you need to check first. Just simply check first. So you are forcing the king to go here on the h file. Because whenever the king goes here on the h file and then now rook f3. And then it's finished, right? Because here he cannot play, here there's a checkmate. Oops, sorry. So king h7 and then now rook f3. Yeah, that's it. So anyway, let's just go back to the game. So at least I just showed you something here in this kind of position. So knight e4. So what happened is you played knight takes e4, knight takes e5, and then now white played, she played knight takes d6. So we see that in this position, knight f6 is much better. So knight takes d6, knight takes d3. This is what happened. So queen c1. Okay. So I think, yeah, of course, in just my opinion, it is like what happened is not good for white because the pieces were just exchanged or like were traded where it shouldn't because before, as you could see, that white has a better placement of the pieces. So okay, let's go. Knight takes e5 here. Yeah, so now this is an end game. So queen c7. Okay, oh good, I like this one. I like this kind of idea. Knight takes c5. Of course, you will get a free pawn. Okay. So here b takes c5, c4. So of course, white is better here, but maybe black has a little bit maybe counterplay here, especially on this c5. So now rook a c1, c3. Okay. So instead of playing rook a c1, because okay, rook a c1 is fine. So that you could, whenever this pawn will capture here, you will just capture with c pawn. But the problem is maybe like black has c3 and then now, okay, this queen maybe could go here on a3, but I think here you could just like maybe simply play c3 here. Like trying to open up like this rank and then now black doesn't have c3. So I think that one is pretty fine. So rook a c1, c3, queen a3, of course, a5, rook c d1. So here in this position, this pawn on c3 is kind of weak, so you could always attack this pawn using your rook, like rook c d1 followed by rook d3. So queen c6, rook d3, a4, good move, of course. Queen c5. This is the good move here, because after queen c5, now you will get another pawn, the c3 pawn. So queen takes c5, d takes c5, a takes b3 here. So now here black is already losing, or like white is already better. So in this game, of course, like in this game, what happened? We will just go back. At least we just improved this game by knowing that this knight e4 is a by knowing that this knight e4 is a mistake because of knight takes e4 followed by knight to f6. All right. So now we will go on our next game. Okay, we will go on our next game. I don't know if it's still okay. We will go on our next game. We see this. Oh, okay. I want this one. So anyone could see the board? Yes? Okay. So this one is the game between Darren Race against Julian. Oh, Julian, this is your game. So Julian, you won this game quickly. Like how many moves? 21 moves. Okay, let's see. Okay. So this game was played at Najdorf. So, oh, G6 first. So it's a Dragendorf, like a Sicilian dragon setup with A6. So it's like we call the Dragendorf. So G6, bishop E3, A6. Okay. So yeah, like here, usually black is just playing a normal one, but A6, bishop E2, B5. Okay. So here, after B5, white played A3. But now, what are you going to do here, guys, in this position if white will just simply play bishop to F3? Trying to play E5. Okay, so I think Julian knows this one because this is his game. Let's see. Okay. Okay. What are you going to do?
Here you can go.
What are you going to do here?
Yeah.
Bishop F3.
I forgot what it was.
What are you going to do? Okay, other one. Shomer Moritani. What are you going to do here?
E5.
Huh?
E5. Black was E5.
Yes, because I think after bishop F3, you don't have any choice. I think you need to play E5 here, because otherwise, white is going to play E5. You cannot just play rook A7, because of course, white will just move and then take this one. Yeah, you could play knight takes B5, you could play knight E6. So here, you need to play E5. So first is you don't need to worry about this one, because sometimes when we play G6, we don't want to play E5, because what will happen is if you played E5 and then we followed by bishop G7, of course, this diagonal will be black. But in this position, it's fine, because after E5, of course, okay, let's say the knight goes here on B3, knight B3. After this, you could just simply play bishop B7 with the idea of B4. So this one is quite fine. So anyway, A3, bishop B7, F3, okay. Knight BD7, queen D2, knight E5, very good.
Yeah, I was trying to put a knight onto C4 and
Yeah, you're right. Like knight E5, rook C8, something like this. So, guys, this one, it's a very good idea for Julian by not committing his bishop on G7. All right, because what will happen is if you play bishop G7, there's always bishop H6. So it means that you play bishop G7, bishop H6, and then you will take. So now you will just maybe like waste a one move. So it is just better to leave your bishop here for the meantime, so that when this bishop goes here on H6, you could just simply play bishop takes H6. So I like what Julian's idea here. Knight E5, castle, knight. What's that?
I was trying to reroute my other knight to like around and put so I could recapture with the knight, but then I realized you could just play F4 or something.
But in this position,
Yeah.
so it means that you just lost a tempo.
Yeah, I should have played B4.
So here in this position, okay, I'm going to explain a little bit in this game why Julian went back on here on D7, because Julian wants to put this knight on B6, right? You want to do something like this and then this, so that you could get the knight here on C4. You want these two knights will be connected. Of course, it is much better if you could connect these two knights here on C4. But the problem is, after you play knight FD7, white could just simply play F4 immediately. And then now you need to go back here on C6, or you could play knight C4. So in this line, guys, when you had this kind of move like B5, knight E5, usually white could just simply play rook C8 here. Okay? Yeah. White could just simply play rook C8. And then, of course, this move is, yeah, well, like after white could play F4, you will just simply play knight C4. If they take, you will take. All right? So, yeah. So that is the plan for white. So now you played knight ED7, so it means that black already made a ways of move. So H4, wow, A5, B4, sorry, B4. So now I want to ask this question. What do you think about this B4? What you guys think about this B4? Giving a pawn on B4, the compensation is to open up, of course, the queen side. So what do you think about this B4? Okay, I want to ask other one that is not yet, okay, it's not yet being called. So, okay, okay, let's ask Josh.
I kind of like it. I played the dragon myself, so I know that sometimes in a lot of lines, if white allows you to get counterplay, which this looks like black might be able to, then blowing up the queen side can be very, very good for your pieces, especially if you have like your rook and queen that can easily go to like an A or B5. So I do kind of like B4.
Okay, so B4 is very interesting because, of course, like I think the plan for Julian here is the reason of playing B4. If A takes B4, which he played A5. Julian wants to ruin the queen side, yeah, like the queen side pawn structure, and then trying to open up the A5. All right. But of course, like B takes A5 is not a good idea here, because after this, you could just simply take queen takes A5, or you could just simply take rook takes A5. So I think after A5, white just need to play B5. So A4, trying to play here, H5. Okay, knight takes H5. Here, take A3. Oh no, take F4. Okay. A3. So here, okay, let's say this kind of position. So what Darren played here is B takes A3, which is, I think it is not a good idea, because after this, you are just opening up the rook. So I think here in this position, white could just simply play B3 here. Yeah, just simply play B3. But I think there is some A2 in this position. So now after A2, of course, you need to stop this promotion. You need to play king b2, and then now black will play queen a5. So now the threat of queen a5, of course, you will just promote a1. So what do you think? What do you think white could do here? Yes, Julian.
I was just thinking like king a1.
Yes, you could just simply play king e1, or you could play also this knight a4, but the problem is, of course, you don't want to play knight a4 because it will just trade the queen, right? Okay, I think Jeremiah. Okay, Jeremiah, what do you want to say? Do you have any idea, Jeremiah?
I was going to say knight a4.
Oh yeah, you were going to say knight a4. Okay, yeah, knight a4 is pretty interesting, but the thing is, if you played knight a4 here in this position, black could just simply trade the queen. Like example, you're going to what? Like, I don't know, like maybe get this one, but now he will just take this one. So I think in this position, black is pretty fine, because of course black is up in exchange, and then now this pawn on a2. Although you could take this pawn, but still, like example, king takes a2, bishop g7. So I think in this position, black is already better. So like what Julian said earlier, I think it is a good one. Just simply king a1. All right. So now let's see what happened. B takes a3, rook takes a3. Oh, knight a6. Okay, knight e6. Okay, this is the move that I am looking earlier, like, but there is queen a5. So here, this is what happened. And then now white made a blunder, of course. White made a blunder because of checkmate in2. Rook a1, king b2, queen a3. So this game is very sharp or like very complicated. Even though Black or Julian made some ways move, like example, his move on knight e5 or knight d7. So that if you're going to play this one, it's either for white and or for black side. You need to be very careful for the waste moves, okay? Because in this kind of opening like Najdorf or Dragon, if you just missed or like if you just do one waste move, it will be very hard for you. So you just need to be very accurate, like where are you going to put your pieces, okay? Julian, like knight e5. If you're going to play knight e5, don't go back again. Instead, just play rook c8, okay? So next game is, okay, who game is? Let's see the game of, okay, e21. Okay, let's see this one. So this one is, okay, Nimzo. This is Nimzo. Let's go. It's the game of Luis, Barry, and Darren. Oops, sorry. D4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3, bishop b4, knight f3, castle, bishop g5. Okay. So do you know that in this Nimzo, why white is playing bishop g5? Like, of course, you want to play bishop g5 to, of course, develop the bishop and then try to pin. But there is another idea of this bishop g5. Do you know what is the another idea of this bishop g5? Julian. Okay, yes. Yes, Julian.
To try to play e4. I used to play in this.
Oh, yeah, this one. Okay.
But
so
it wasn't fun, so I stopped.
Because usually, when it comes to queen's pawn, usually we are moving first the bishop and then play e3 or play e4. But here, like white played bishop g5.
I used to play it as black, I mean.
Oh, yeah. So, especially in the Nimzo, because white also has a plan that he wants to move the knight here on g2 later on. So, that is one of the plan here for white. So, bishop g5, c5, d5, rook e8. So, I am not so sure about this move, okay? So, by playing, because here in this position, black would just simply take this pawn, right? Capture this pawn. So, now white needs to capture back this pawn and then maybe play d6 and then something like rook e8, right? So, it is quite similar in the Benoni, but the difference is, I'm not so sure if you are familiar with the Benoni defense, but the difference is this dark square bishop. Because normally, in the Benoni defense, this bishop is here on g7, doing a fianchetto. But now, I think it is much better because now this bishop is already activated. So here, like rook e8 is very interesting. Queen c2, h6. So here, Lewis played bishop.
Instead of queen c2, wouldn't taking be better? Taking on e6?
No. We don't want to take this one. Because the problem here is if you take immediately this pawn on e6, usually the black is going to take with f pawn. Why? Because if black, because after f takes e6 later on, maybe black could get the center by playing d5. All right.
Can't you play e4 here?
Okay, yeah, you could play something e4, and then maybe I'll go h6. Bishop h4, right? Here. I'm not so sure about this move, but maybe black could play this g5. I'm not so sure, but maybe black. It's either you are going to sacrifice a piece or you're going to lose the pawn here on e4. And then followed by d5. So if you're white here, and then you had this kind of possession, I think it is always better to keep your pawn structure like this. avoid capturing here on e6 because once you capture here, as I said, that you are giving up this d5 square. So what white played is queen c2, okay? h6, bishop takes f6. Why white needs to take the knight on f6? Why white cannot what's wrong with this bishop h4? So I want to hear any what's wrong with bishop h4 here? Yes, Shaw Moritani.
If bishop h4, can you go g5?
Yes, bishop
Maybe they
h4.
can go like this, like that.
Bishop g3.
Hey, chop on d5, chop on d5 twice.
What? I'm sorry?
Chop on d5.
Yes.
D5, and then you're winning a pawn.
As you played bishop g3, you will just simply take stakes, and then now you will just simply take stakes, and then now.
Yeah,
Right.
I would see that.
So that's why, yeah. So now, so bishop takes f6, okay, queen takes f6, e3, okay, e3, e takes d5, c takes d5, oh, bishop takes c3. I don't know. I don't like this bishop takes c3. Why? Because I think like anytime you could always take this knight on c3. Like this bishop on b4 could always take this knight on c3. So I think there is a better way here in this position for black. Like example, in this position, black could just simply play d6 so that you could do something like bishop f5, right? If you played a3, you could maybe if you want, you could play bishop a5 here. So usually in this kind of position, when you had like for black, when you had c5 and d6, and then there's a pawn here on d5, which is the Benoni setup, usually black is going to create some counterplay on the queen side by playing maybe a6 and then followed by b5, right? So I would say in this position that I think black is better here. I don't know if you are going to agree with me, but I think in this position black is better. So do you guys agree with me that in this position black is fine, or like black is better? Yes, Josh? Okay, good. So I think black is better here. First pair of bishops. Yeah, and second one is when it comes to development, I think when it comes to development or like the piece development, black is better. So after d6, maybe I think white needs to play bishop d3 to stop this bishop f5. So after bishop d3, you could play a6. If he castled, you could play b5, something like this. Or if he castled now, you could now take this one and then play b5. So here, black is already fine. Play b5, and then this knight, you could play knight d7 and then knight b6, trying to attack this pawn. Okay, so now let's see. What happened is he takes, queen takes c3, and then takes, okay, d6, bishop d3, b6, castle, bishop b7, okay, attacking this pawn, but I don't think this is the good square for, yeah, like, I don't think black needs to put the bishop here, because what will happen is if you move your bishop here on b7, and then now let's say white plays c4 followed by e4, now later on you are going to maneuver again this bishop, because you don't want this bishop will be here for a while, because this bishop on b7 will be bad, right? So I think this is a bad idea for black. So anyway, knight a6, a3, knight c7, knight d2, a6. Okay, a6, he wants to play b5. So, ooh, knight e4. Okay, attacking this pawn on d6. So black needs to play rook a d8, f3. So I don't know about what is this, f3. So do you guys know what do you think about this f3 move? Do you think this f3 will help the white's position? No, Julian is right. Yeah, this f3, I don't know about this move, and also we need to be careful moving this pawn here on f3, especially if there's a rook. Because maybe after f3, maybe black could play f5, something like this. Even though here you could maybe play knight g3, takes and then takes, but now this rook is active already, especially like, yeah, like black could play rook e8. And also here by playing f3, Now, maybe there is a move like this, b5. The idea is b takes c4, right? The idea is bishop, yeah, like something bishop. Okay, maybe you could play rook b1 here. Yeah, that's also possible, but the problem here for white is this pawn, because whenever black could get this pawn, now this pawn on d5 will be weak. So instead of playing f3, I think white could just play a4 here. So that if black will play b5, you will take, a takes b5, and then now maybe you had this kind of move. I'm not so sure, but maybe you'll this kind of move, because if it takes, b takes c4, what are you going to do? Josh.
This rook takes b7, pawn takes d3, and rook takes c7.
Rook takes e4. Right?
Oh yeah, proves more complicated.
Yeah. So now here, of course, black is better now because there's a connected pass pawns here. So what are you going to do if b takes c4? Julian, okay, where are the others?
Maybe knight takes c5 or knight takes d6 maybe.
Knight
No,
takes-
no, probably not. Because then he wins your because he wins
yeah,
your.
takes, and then takes.
Yeah. Okay. So not that then. Then maybe just bishop c2.
Oh, okay. So in this position, I am sure that you are trying. Yeah, you are trying to calculate like knight takes d6, knight takes c5, rook takes b7. But there is just only one. I think, one quiet move. We used to call this a quiet move because
Maybe bishop c2.
Yes. Shaw, Mauritani, what you are thinking? What move are you thinking here?
Bishop c2, Sim.
Bishop c2, yeah, just simply this
It's
kind
just
of
quiet and deadly.
quiet move. Yes, you are. That is the right term. Quiet move and deadly. Because now after bishop c2, you are still attacking this bishop, and then this bishop cannot just move because
Rook
this move.
b8, then knight takes
It's
d6.
fun. Bishop takes d5. What are you going to do? Ooh.
Take on
What?
d6. Take on
What?
d6.
No.
Can you take on d6?
No. There's a better move.
Knight c3.
Yes, just simply knight c3 here. Right? Knight c3. Still attacking this one. If you played rook c8, so now you could take. Rook takes c7 and then knight takes d5, right?
Yeah. 2 pieces for the rook.
Yeah, 2 pieces for rook, and then I think white is already winning. And then now, of course, he cannot do, okay, rook d7, you could just simply play knight takes d5. All right? So remember this pawn structure. If you're playing white and then you had this kind of pawn structure, you need to remember this, that this is the move that you need to be very careful of, like this b5, because once black could play b5, black has some counterplay. All right. So now I want to see what happened in this game. b5, rook fc1. Who won this game? Oh, black won. Okay. Takes. Oh, this is what happened, guys. Look at this. What happened is black finally break this pawn on c4. As I said earlier, once this pawn is captured, now this d5 pawn is weak. So here, black is already better. It's not only up a pawn, because now this like 2 pawns later on will be dangerous. Rook a4. Okay. Oh, I don't like this move. Anyone, like, I want to hear other kid. Like example, Vrishank, what do you think about this move? Bishop takes e4.
I don't like it.
You don't like it? Why? Why you don't like this move? Why you don't like that bishop takes e4 move?
Because when bishop takes, like, it gives white bishop the wrong diagonal.
Yes, you are right. Because now, this bishop on d5 is much better to this knight than this knight on e4, especially, and also this knight could help maybe try to like maybe attack this rook. And also this knight cannot just move immediately because this e3 pawn is hanging. Okay, bishop takes e4, bishop takes e4, and
Instead
then
of bishop
now
takes e4, could you just play bishop b3? And the rook has to go to a5.
like this is what I'm thinking earlier, like bishop b3, rook a5, and then c4. Yeah, c4. And then if you move the bishop, like example bishop e2, maybe d5. And then get this pawn. Right? So here in this position, I think like black is already clearly better. Because once black get this pawn, two pass pawns, connected pass pawns, and then now this rook looks good, but I don't like. And then I think this rook on a5, this rook on a5 doesn't have any, like really helpful in this position. So I think, like the main mistake here for black is, for white is of course like giving up this pawn on c4, because after white traded this pawn and then now this d5 pawn fell. So bishop takes, bishop takes. So here, like white should just take rook takes e4, because after bishop takes e4 and then there's d5 and then now this pawn on e3 will be hanging. So I think black is kind of forced. Yeah, this one it looks odd. F takes e4, of course, but I think it is also okay. Like, even though white has a very bad pawn structure here, but now at least he is trying to attack this e6 pawn. Okay, bishop takes e4, d5, bishop d3, c4, bishop e2. So now here, black is winning. Okay, let's see. Knight b5, good move, of course. This is tied up. This is what we call tied up. The rook cannot move. This bishop cannot move. So knight b5. Just add one more piece, and then now the white's position is done. Yeah, okay, good. Okay, good. So yeah, it's a good game. So at least we've learned something about this game. So now let's go all 14 moves. I love to see some short games. What's happening here in the short game? So now this game, it's Rivtik against Andy. So let's see what happened. Knight f3, d5, c4, d4, e3, c5, d4. Okay. Knight f6. So here, if you're going to if you are wondering in playing this move, if like example, if black played d takes e3, so there is also like this move, like this b4, because it simply white is giving this pawn, d takes e3, f takes e3, c takes b4, and then d4. So the compensation for a pawn is this of course, these two pawns. Like
an opposite Benoni.
Yeah, something like this. And also usually in this position, white usually move the bishop here, bishop b2, bishop d3, some like a Collier system, and then later on he could play e4. So black has, or like white has, a very good compensation here. So anyway, black played knight f6, he takes knight c6. I like this one, and then e5. This is a very good setup for black. Like giving up the c5 pawn, but black could always get back this c5 pawn. So as you can see, the last game we review and this game, it is quite similar. Like what I mean is the pawn structure here. There's d4, c4, and then like maybe later on d3, because earlier it's d5, c5, and d6. Like that is the game that we just reviewed earlier. So d3, f takes e3. Okay. Bishop takes c5, d4, bishop b4. So I think here knight bd2 castled. So white played d takes e5. I think this move is a bad move. I'm not so sure, but I think like this move is a bad move. Okay, you are getting a free pawn, but the problem here is after you play d takes e5, first is like this is a double pawn, and then now you are opening up this d file, and also at the same time after d takes e5, white has a lot of weaknesses. right? So I think this d takes e5 is not good in this position. So what do you think white should do here? Because okay, you will get the pawn, but I think it is not good to get a one pawn, but in return you will get a lot of weaknesses. So I think it's not worth it. Yes, Shaw Mauritani, what are you going to do?
E5.
What? D5. Okay. Oh, I like this one. Okay, let me see. Let me check, okay? I'm going to test this move, E4.
Knight D4.
Knight D4, okay. I could maybe take.
If I take, I'm gonna take with the bishop.
Takes and then Knight G4.
Hmm.
Scary, right?
3.
It looks scary for white.
Yeah, but G3, and I believe it holds.
But I don't want to play Queen H4. I'm going to move my queen here on G5.
Oh, G5.
For example, you played Queen Bishop E2, Queen G5.
Okay, so alright.
But okay, it's fine. It's fine. I think in this position, but I think in this position, like I saw some idea here: Knight G4, Bishop E2, Queen G5, and then you will play Queen B3. What do you think about this move? Queen to B3. Okay, protecting this pawn, attacking this bishop. Yes, Josh. What
This
do you
was a
think?
move I was thinking of. I kind of like it.
Queen B3, right? Bishop takes D2, king takes D2. Although your king is uncastled, but I think it's pretty safe because first of all, this D file is quite close. Yeah. And then maybe later on you could now maybe put your rook on F1, something like this, and then maybe try to attack, and then you could do hand castle later on, something like this, right? Oh, this one is very interesting. So this is the move here. It's a mistake. D takes E5. Why could just simply play D5 or okay, or you could just like Bishop E2 is quite dangerous also because if you play like a normal development here, Bishop E2, maybe black could take. D takes yeah, here E takes D4, E takes D4, and then followed by knight to E4. Because if you castled, I will play knight takes D2, and then now this D4 pawn is hanging. Right? And then if you play D5 here, what black could do here? Yes.
Maybe I was thinking, what was I? I was thinking, what was I thinking? I was thinking of like some Queen B6 idea.
Queen?
No, okay. Queen B6.
Okay, Queen B6, okay. Like, there is also this kind of move, but I think, yeah, Queen B6 is good, of course, because he cannot take, because, yes, Jim Arco.
What about Queen A5 to attack
Queen,
the knight?
Queen A5?
Yeah.
I cannot take. Okay, first is Queen A5, okay, trying to, yeah, add more pressure in this D2 pawn, but I cannot take.
After
Rook D1.
knight,
Yeah, take and then Rook D8, right?
yeah.
Take and then, yeah, okay, good.
And
Yeah.
white is for a load of trouble.
Yeah. Rook D8, and then now maybe white could just castle here.
And then knight takes E2, knight takes E2,
E2.
rook takes E2, and you're attacking both the queen and the bishop. You're both attacking the queen and the two bishops, and you're gonna win.
Yes, you're right. That is a very interesting idea. Giving up the knight, giving up this knight on C6, open up this one. Okay, I like that kind of idea. I like that. Yeah. Or I'm thinking about this move also, but I think it doesn't work. Knight takes and then Queen H4, but I think it doesn't work for black because okay, white will play G3, knight takes G3, and then maybe there's knight F3 here. Right? Okay, maybe like white is like example you played Queen H5. Okay. Let's say you played Queen H6. I'm not so sure about this move, but maybe there's this move, rook to g1. You cannot take because now I'm going to take this g7 pawn. Right? If black moves this knight, you will lose this knight on g2. So here, I think like the best option here will just simply play queen b6. It is just, yeah, queen b6 forcing queen b6 forcing white to play rook f1. And then now, okay, like this knight is being attacked. So you could maybe take this one, take, and then maybe knight d4. So I think this is a very good. So I think like by playing this one, black should be winning already. Because of course this king is here, it's a very bad king. After knight d4, you have rook e8 continuation, and then now this bishop is already bad. Like here on e2. All right. So let's see what happened. He captured knight e4, bishop e2, queen b6. Oh, yes. So now white made the blunder, knight d4, of course, because after knight d4, now black could just get this knight on d2. So what are you going to do instead of playing knight d4? Because after queen b6, this queen is attacking this pawn on e3. Yeah, guys, you could just call out. It's fine. Like
Bishop d4.
Bishop d4. Bishop d4. It will transpose earlier, like knight takes d4, e takes d4, right?
Yeah.
Knight takes d2, and then your position will be very, very bad.
Oh
right?
yeah. Knight takes, queen takes.
And this now, of course, like this is very bad already. Like I don't know how to describe this position, but this position is very bad. Especially like now, as you can see, black has a very powerful pair of bishops. And then now with the rook d8, yeah, and
Also,
then
you're
now
threatening to take on d2.
and then I don't know, like this position. Maybe in just few moves, like white could just resign. So I think like in this game, I think what happened in this game, like I think here the improvement maybe here is after d4 here castle. So I think like okay, so I think here white could just like simply play d5 here. White could just simply play d5 because avoid especially this kind of getting a pawn here, especially here on e5, and then there's a bishop, and then your king in the center. It is very dangerous, especially like if the minor pieces for black is still complete. It's very dangerous. So just remember that don't just try to get a pawn if you think that like you are down by development, or especially if your king is uncastled. All right, if your king is uncastled. So I think that's it. So like here, okay, we will just go back. So knight f6, okay, so this one is good. d3. So okay, d3 is fine. But if white wants to maybe play more safe in this position, he could just simply take e takes d4. E takes d4, and then now he could play d3. If he takes, he could maybe play bishop e2. Castle. So okay. At first, this bishop it's a problem because this bishop doesn't have any square. But later on, you could always move your knight and then play bishop f3, right? And also in this kind of position, this is not only your problem. This bishop on b2 also your problem. So you could always play like bishop c1 and then like maybe try to maneuver your bishop, or maybe try to trade your bishop e3, and then because the important thing in the opening is if you're playing the opening, especially when you're going to the transition from opening to middle game, you always need to look where's your bad pieces, because that is how you are going to improve your strategic chess for to looking where is your bad pieces. All right, because if you find like example in this position, this bishop on e2 is quite bad, but it's just only like temporary because you could always maneuver this bishop, like moving the knight, this knight on f3, and then bishop f3, and then the same with this bishop here on b2. All right. So guys, I think that's all. So I hope that we analyzed a good games, and then I hope that you learned something in the openings in the Collier system, this kind of Benoni, and then yeah, and then I saw many good games, and then good luck for the when is your next league tournament or like your next tournament? Yeah.
So I think I think he did not go over 2 games.
Yeah. There are 2 more games. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we have 2 more games.
But if you have to go, I wouldn't worry about it. I mean,
One-
if you have to
one-
go, we don't want to hold you up.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
I think one game. One game. This game.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, this game. Oh, your game. That's why. Oh, now. Okay. Of course, we're going to check this game. Of course, that's your game. Okay. So you're playing against Jude. So e4, c6, d4, d5 takes. Okay, you played an exchange. So of course, before if you happen to watch the World Blitz Championship, this is the like this exchange variation was played by Magnus Carlsen like most of his games when someone played Caro-Kann against him. So usually you play this one. So c3, knight f6, bishop d3, g6, castle, bishop g7, bishop f4, okay? Or you could just simply play rook e1, something like this. Yes, bishop f4 is important so that maybe later on you could avoid e5. Okay, bishop f4, castle, knight bd2, bishop g4. Yes, okay, because this bishop doesn't have any good square, so I think it is better to trade with this bishop because this bishop doesn't looks good even though he played here in bishop d7. So I think this is also a good idea, like bishop g4, h3, bishop f5. Okay. So for Jude, I think instead of playing bishop g4, he could just simply play bishop f5. I think this bishop g4 and then followed by bishop f5 is not a good idea because it is just a waste of one move, right? And also white really and then in this kind of position for white is really going to play h3 because it's like in the London system when you had bishop f4, usually you're going to play h3 so that you have a square like whenever black will attack this bishop. So it seems that this is a waste of move. Takes, knight e5, okay, knight e4, okay, knight takes, f takes, knight takes c6. Okay, let's see about this position. So what could you see in this position instead of, I don't see any move here. Like I'm thinking about this move, queen b3, but I think it is not so good because after queen b3, maybe black will just take. Yeah, like black will just take. Bishop takes e5, takes, d takes e5, and then if you, oh yeah, it means that this queen b3 looks good. Look at this, queen b3. If it takes, knight takes e5, bishop, yes, Josh?
Oh, I was just gonna ask, what's Black's move after Queen G4 instead of Queen B3, Queen G4?
Queen G4, okay. The idea is bishop H6, right? But I think after Queen G4, Black would just simply
King H1, 8.
Yeah, just simply play King H8, and then I don't. Yeah, like I think I don't see anyone like here. Or you could play no, not Queen C8. Yeah, or you could play Queen C8 here. So if bishop h6 you will take, but I think it is quite scary because after queen c8, I'm thinking about this one, knight d7. Oh, this one is quite interesting. Knight d7, rook d8, bishop h6.
I'm wondering about F5
Yes.
No,
That
F5
is
and then Rook F7, Bishop H6.
yeah, and then now
Yeah,
the good
later.
thing about F5 is white cannot play bishop h6 because yeah, it's good. So it means that after queen g4, like black like simply play king h8. So I think like this queen b3 is interesting. Look at this. I'm looking for this. Bishop takes, d takes, of course, protecting this one. Maybe he will play queen d7, rook a d1, attacking this one. And then if he plays e6, c4. So here, who do you think is better here, white or black? Yes, sure.
Black.
Oh, this is the game of Jude. Okay, let's ask Jude. Okay, so Jude, yes, GM Arco. What's a GM Arco? GM Arco.
I like white better because white has his rook on d1 out. He's attacking d5, and his
Yeah.
queen is good place. Black's kingside, the g file is completely open, and white
Very
has
good.
a lot of good ideas of attack.
Very good. So here in this position, white is better. Right. So now, of course, he cannot take this one. The take c4 is a blunder because you have queen g3 check. Right. So you play d4, you could just simply attack this pawn. Look at this, and then now this pawn will be in trouble now. And then white is completely better now. You could take this rook. You could do some rook lift here on the g file, and then white is better. So queen b3 is interesting. So let's see what happened in this game. Knight takes e4, f takes e4, knight takes c6. So white just simply play queen d2 with the threat of bishop h6. So here, let's ask Jude. Jude, in this position, do you feel that your position is still fine in this current position? Or do you feel that white is better here?
I feel like white's better, but it's not like they have an attack.
Yes, all right. So here in this position, maybe white is a little bit better because of the this pawn on c6, but it is not so big advantage because especially because in this position, white doesn't have enough piece to attack you maybe here on the g file. All right, so I think it is fine. So king h8, king h1. Okay. So why did you play king h1?
Just for like safety measures, since the rook is gonna come to the g file.
You don't want to play it immediately? No? You don't want to play
I
it?
just want to get my king's in first.
Okay, that's good. Okay, it's good.
I still play f3.
f3, takes, queen d7, rook to e1, bishop f8. Okay, so I think, Jude, this one, in this position, you don't need to play bishop f8. First is, you don't need to protect this e7 pawn because you had a queen here. Okay? So what you need to do here is you need to coordinate your pieces, especially now. Look at this. When this bishop f4 move, of course, these two rooks going to control this e file and then f file. All right. So what we could do here? What do you think? What do you think black could do here, guys, in this position after rook e1? How black could coordinate his pieces here? Because black need to do something, otherwise this like maybe one of the move here is maybe white could play bishop e5, try to trade. Like example, if you play rook e8 here, like bishop e5 takes, rook takes e5, and then now I think white is better here because of this. Of course, these two rooks for white. So, and also playing bishop f8, it's kind of passive. So what guys, if you're playing black here, what guys are you going to play here? Jude.
Bishop f6.
Bishop f6. Yeah, this one's fine. But he will maybe play bishop e5.
I know, but then I can jump on a g5.
And then maybe, yeah, just something like this. Rook g7, something like this. Even though like these two rooks is better with your rooks, but at least like by playing rook g7 and then followed by rook here on g8, you will have some counterplay, especially here on g5. Because if you don't create a counterplay here for black, of course, it's like you're just going to wait for the white's attack. So this one is a bad move because this bishop f8 is very passive, right? I think you agree with that, Jude. So yeah, bishop h2. Okay, trying to open up e6. Okay. Wow, I like that kind of move. Bishop h2, then bishop e5. Because you don't want to play bishop e5 immediately, right? Because there's f6. So you play this move first and then bishop e5, bishop g7. Wow. Queen g5. Let's see about this move. So there's like a trap here. I like, yeah, of course, black cannot play h6 because there's queen takes h6. So bishop takes e5, queen takes e5, rook g7, rook g3. Very good. Rook a g8. So white is doing a battery like rook e3 followed by rook takes g7 and then now rook g3. So queen b7. So now what do you think we need to do here? Could you find, because here of course this queen b7 is a blunder because now white could takes, and then now rook g3, right? And then even though black will play f6 or f5, he will lose a pawn. So now here we will go back in this position. What do you think is the best move for black here so that maybe he won't lose a pawn immediately? Okay, let's ask the one that who played black here. Jude, what are you going to do? Because I don't know why you played queen b7. It is just a blunder move. So, okay, wait a second, guys. Okay, Jude played queen b7 trying to get this pawn, but it is kind of very far. Because what you need to do is you need to focus in this king side, especially here on g5. So, Jude, what are you going to do here? Yes.
You have to push f pawn, or otherwise you lose the game. So f6.
What? I'm sorry?
You have to push the f pawn, otherwise you lose the game.
Yeah.
I'm actually.
Okay, so here in this position, instead of queen b7, there is a move here that, like, yeah, like black could play like this queen e7. Black could play queen e7 so that whenever rook takes g7, rook takes g7, rook g3, you have f6. But still, it's still lost because there's still back rank over there. So look at, there's still like black. At first I thought that black is already fine here, but after queen b8 now black is still. So we still need to find another way how we could defend this position. Do you think there's another way here so that we could defend this position? Yes, Jude.
They take you play queen e7. They take the rook. You take back. They play rook g3 and queen f8.
Yes, and then queen. Yeah. Yes, here queen f8. But I think you are still going to lose a pawn.
Yeah.
Takes, queen here. The rook takes g7, queen takes g7, and then queen b8. Yes, okay, let's ask Josh. Josh, what do you think?
Well, the queen's protecting the 7th rank, so what about like f5? Like it, well, it loses a pawn, but like what else do we have?
We're going to lose this pawn. But maybe we need to find another way. Another way, like, because here in this position, this, like the main problem here, Jude, guys, for black here is this queen on e5. This is the main problem here because this queen, it's not only attacking this one, but at early, as I showed you like earlier, this queen could also play queen b8 later on whenever this rooks would trade. So now let's see, what could we do here? What could we do so we could prevent something in this position? I don't see any way. Like, okay. I think, yeah, like queen, I think like the best move here is just to maybe give this pawn, like this one. I think this is only, but no, but still, it's still not good. Because takes, queen b8, queen g8 takes, I think like this is the best way here. Queen G5, right? So I think like after this, even though like white is up a pawn, but it's still hard. Oh no.
We can
Black
just take
yes.
Thank you.
Queen takes f7.
And then here. What?
we can't just
Yeah.
take on a
Okay.
point that prevents all professionals.
Now you could take Queen F7, or you could just simply like a simple one, Queen B8 here and then here. White is up a pawn.
And
So
then
basically,
pawn c4.
in this position, white is already winning. All right, because what happened here, Jude, is I think this is the turning point when you played Bishop F8. All right, yeah, like especially in this kind of position, because in this kind of position, white is already better. So it means that black needs a good way to defend this position. So, but after you play Bishop F8, it's a passive move, and then a waste of move. So after that, Shaw make a move that made a move that like I really like this move. Of course, Queen G5, immediately helping White's position with this queen, and of course getting here on E5. Very good game. Like this one is okay. Let's see what just happened in the real game. Okay, Queen B7 takes F6, and then now yes, and then now Queen E5. You don't want to take, just simple, and then you are up a pawn.
I didn't see it, but I saw it. I saw like moves later.
Oh, moves later. Yeah, okay. Like because after Queen E5, he doesn't have any move anyway. Because after Queen E5, you could just trade the Queen and the Rook anyway. So, but of course, like Queen takes F6 Queen takes G7 is much easier. Like Queen takes here, and then just put your king, and then now you are up a pawn. So simply win it. Okay, a very good game. Good game for both of you. But unfortunately, Jude, of course, Jude knows what is mistake, like a passive move, Bishop F8. So we just need to avoid that kind of move. But anyway, like this game in opening, it's fine. So first mistake for Jude is when he played Bishop G4 and then Bishop F5. Right?
I meant to play
Yeah.
Bishop F5.
So you should play Bishop F5 immediately, because in this kind of position, white is playing H3 anyway, because whenever white has a bishop on F4, usually white is playing H3, so that there is a square. So that there is an H3 square for this bishop on F4 whenever black attacks this bishop on F4. All right. So guys, thank you so much. You let me check your games. So it is I see some good games, and then at least some of your games was reviewed, and then some of the games we know now the what you call this improvement for our game, so that next time it won't happen again. Like example in the like especially like the first game that we just reviewed in the Collier system. At least now we know the improvement, what to do, so that next time it won't happen again. Okay, guys, thank you so much.
Thanks, Coach Mark.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.